Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Posted Up with Chris Haynes podcast here on Yahoo Sports. I have the privilege and the honor to bring to you one of the greatest basketball players to ever touch the face of this earth. Nobody none other than Mr. Oscar Robertson, Mr. First Triple-Double himself. One of the greatest players, top 75, top 50, however you want to call it, top 25, whatever. That's him. Mr. Robertson, first of all, this is our first time actually having a conversation, man. So I appreciate you coming on, first of all. And second of all, man, you're one of the ones that I feel like there's always been players, they talk about Steph as being somebody who's just transitioned the league into this three-point ball. And there's always certain guys that come into league, provide their own flair, and then it catches on after that. And you were one of the first. First of all, how was your holidays? How's your holidays? Are you with family? How's everything going with you health-wise, Mr. Robertson?
It's going pretty good. Holidays are going very smooth. A lot of people are shopping during these times, but I try to stay out of that. But other than that, it's going very well.
Okay, now I have to ask this question as well. This is probably the most important question that I'm going to ask. Ms. Robinson, this age thing, you're handling this age thing pretty well here. Like you're going backwards while everybody else is moving forward with the numbers. Now I know the numbers may be changing, but it from the look up the skin and how well you keep yourself, the numbers don't reflect that. What's the secret? Tell me.
I don't know. I got my daughters to keep me in line. They don't eat any fried food. I don't eat hardly any sugar anything, and they don't want me to have. They don't want me to even have a beer, man.
Well, that's a tough secret, man, right there, Mr. Rob, because I can't do without my fried chicken, my fried foods.
Well,
I can't.
Hey, listen, man, I'm from Tennessee, and I know what you mean by fried chicken.
You used to that good real Southern fried chicken right there.
You can say that again.
Well, your daughters are taking care of you well. Shout out to them. But Mr. Roberts, I want to ask you, man. You have you followed this game. You studied it. You've seen it from back when you played to now. What is an aspect of the game that you're proud of today? And what is an aspect of today's NBA game that you feel like, okay, maybe we need to go back to the fundamentals? Can you answer that?
Well, sure there are fundamentals, I think, that's really the backbone of playing basketball. But what I'm proud of is that the basketball players, especially the stars, and not only the stars, people who are in the limelight, act like gentlemen, both while they're on the court and off the court. I think this is the big transition from what happened many years ago. But now players are aware of what they're doing. Socially, boy, you can't ever get out of sight of anyone at all, to be honest. And, it's just wonderful to see. It's wonderful to see great basketball players out in public and what they're doing. It's nice to see that.
Hey, Mr. Roy, you come from a time where, it was rougher than it was now. I would just say that. Maybe social media, just with the race climate and everything, maybe social media is pretty putting things more in the limelight than it was before then. But talk about what it was like being a professional athlete back then, not just a professional athlete, a Black professional athlete in the heights of the civil rights movement.
Well, I think in the heights of the civil rights movement, if you were a star, they tolerated you to a certain extent. But you had to be a star all the time. You couldn't be a star today in one game and then have 8 or 9 bad games. Boy, they would just talk about you like crazy. They wouldn't want you there. But I think that I look at all the players after Jackie Robinson, Willie Mays, Vader Pinson, Frank Robinson, and all those great basketball players who played baseball. They were stars. And then if you look at it, people don't realize this. During those years, all the stars, they were playing, all the Black, especially Black players, they were all started. They were all playing. And I take the thing now is that I look at all the teams around the country, And they have evolved where they get great players, whether they're white, black, or blue, or green. I'm glad to see that Jackson State has gone out to recruit top flight athletes. I think it's wonderful.
For sure. Deion Sanders, prime time over there, making it happen. You
Yes,
think that's something that can be a trend?
It can be a trend. I think it's up to the parents. I think parents should get involved to really know where their young son or daughter is really going to college, and what kind of climate do they have at that college when you go there? Do they have a good group of people who can help them if they have some problems? Because sometimes when you're young, you just start in college, you're going to have problems.
Mm-hmm. What about the resources of a lot of these HBCUs? They're not up to par with the big colleges out there. How are they going to able to consistently on a consistent basis compete with the colleges that can add all the resources, top-notch facilities, and things of that nature?
Well, I think TV has a lot to do with this. Get more games on television, and I think it's alumni. Alumni's got to be more ready to go and support them at the games. Sometimes you don't win all your games, but is that a reason for not go to a basketball or football game? And also we get a lot of negative reports from the schools, like, because I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, and Tennessee State was there, and Jackson State, Mississippi Valley has some great basketball players, great football players, and great teachers. And I'll say this: I went to an all-black school, mm-hmm. from an all-black high school to an all-white college. And I thought in high school I got the greatest education in the world to propel me to go through college. I didn't have any difficulty in college, all because of those teachers. And I think you're going to find this at a lot of the traditional black schools the same way. You have teachers who were dedicated to making sure that these young men and women get a good education, get a good start in life.
That's a good point. I'm glad you touched on that, Mr. Robertson. I think that's I think people don't think a lot of times when you hear about all black schools, whether it be high school or black college, I think the logic is they're probably not getting the proper education. No. That couldn't be any further from the truth.
You're exactly right. But I think you got to promote that a lot more than they have been doing.
No, yeah, I agree with you there. And Turner, my other company over there, they're doing a good job of, highlighting HBCU games, putting them on national TV, and shout out to Deion Sanders prime time over there with what he's doing with Jackson State. Mr. Robertson, Christmas is coming up. You got the red shirt on.
Yes, I do.
This is usually, a great time of year to watch. We get prepared for all the top flight NBA matchup games. It's a little bit tricky this year with the COVID situation going on, and you don't know who's going to be available and what players you're going to be watching. And I guess what are you looking for this time of year as far as basketball and Christmas?
I look for a good competitive game with the Warriors and Phoenix, and then the Nets going to play the Lakers. But we have to understand this, that in sports, somebody gets hurt all the time. Look at a lot of the football team. Quarterback goes down, defensive tackle goes down, the tight end goes down. What do? They bring somebody else in. I think that you got to play on. I don't think you can complain about what you don't have a lot of times. Worry about what you have on the floor. If this guy's out because of COVID, that guy's out, bring somebody else in and explain to them what you need as a basketball player or a football player or a baseball player. Because, we can always say, oh, we're not going to do well because such and such a person is out. So what?
See, that's that old school mentality, Mr. Rob. I love it. Rub some dirt on it and get back out there. But no, that's real. Complaining is not going to do anything about it. And these are still professional athletes and marquee teams. And so you're still going to have basketball on Christmas Day. Just don't know necessarily who's going to be there. But to your point, it's always next man up, whether it's injuries or now COVID. How do you think the league has handled the COVID pandemic?
I think the league wants to make sure that the players are safe, and they want to look for exciting matchups. And I think they've done a good job. The thing about the league is that I know they're working so hard you don't hear that much about it. And I think that's the best way to do it because, everything's seems instant anymore. Anytime you do something, boy, you can see it on Facebook. But what they're doing is that they're worried about the game. And maybe not the game, looking for the game for now, tomorrow, and then on into the future. So that's what basketball is all about. The game has picked up so much around the world. It's just unbelievable.
I want to go back to a point you made earlier. You were talking about, we're talking about the 60s, and back then, I believe baseball was like the top sport back then.
Yes.
And we talk about basketball right now, but when did you see a shift? I know everybody points to the 80s, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, but when did you see a shift to where basketball really started picking up steam from your point of view?
I went down and played in the Dixie Classics, I don't know, in 59 or right before 60. And went down with Michigan State. I was on the Cincinnati team, and Michigan State had 3 or 4 black guys. And we had to stay outside the city of Raleigh. They won't let us stay in the city. But what I'm going to tell you next, on the teams we played, there were no black players. But look at it now. That's been a change. The change has been the coaches who understand what winning is all about. They'll go out and try to get the best player available to come to that team. And this is what some of those schools in the South are doing. Especially the guy down at Alabama. He's been great to get players on this school. But traditionally in the South, years ago, all those schools like Alabama, Mississippi, and Tulane, all those players went to black schools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, football players too.
Football players too.
Yeah, that's true. And so what it all boils down to is that they finally start going after the best players, regardless of race.
They want to win.
Yeah, they want to win. Yeah, exactly.
That's the real key. If you want to win, you go get the best athlete.
Mm-hmm. Regardless of race. No doubt about that. Miss Robbie, you're over the last few years, I don't know if I can say you've got close to Russell Westbrook, but obviously you guys are going to be forever linked. What do you think about his transition thus far with the Los Angeles Lakers?
Well, I won't make this public, but I think there's some things that Russell's doing is great. Some things he's doing is not so great, but he's gonna figure it out. He's a good athlete. But I don't blame all the ills of the Lakers on Russell Westbrook, because I think he's a very good basketball player, and he won't put up the numbers like he did with the Washington team, but he's gonna have some good numbers. But I think good, smart athletes always figure out the best way to get there. And I think he has a little ways to go, and the whole team has a ways to go, to be honest, to get where they want to be.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a team effort. Why they're underperforming? Why they're underperforming? No,
it's not a boxing match.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, speaking of a boxing match, Mr. Roberts, you old school. I have yet to get into this phenomenon that is celebrity athletes stepping into the ring in boxing. Like I don't want to see it. That's just it's going big. What's your how you feel about it?
I remember years ago when 2 tall gentlemen wanted to box Muhammad Ali. and Ali told him, he said, what I'd do, he said, I'd go and swing one punch and go, timber.
And I think he would have been right. He always called his shot. No.
The thing about when you're in a sport, say a basketball player, football, they're going to boxing, unless you've had some vast experiences of boxing when you were young, man, you don't know what to do. You don't know how to put your hands up to block a shot, a counter, or do these types of things. You don't know what a guy's doing when he comes on you, and you can't get scared when the guy rushes you, throwing punches. You got to know what to do.
Yeah,
and that's the key. Experiences are the best teacher.
Yeah, they're experiencing on a national level where everybody can see. Now, I got to ask you, Ms. Robert, if this was going on back in your day, your prime days, are you stepping in the ring with Julius Erving? Can he get you in a ring in a celebrity boxing match?
It all depends on what it's for.
Okay. Okay. Robert say ruled it out. Okay. I respect that. Okay. One more thing real quick on the Lakers, Mr. Roberts. Anthony Davis, LeBron James, year 19 for LeBron. We just talked about it. We said, it's not all about Russell Westbrook. I only brought him up because of the triple-double link with yourself. But what needs to be done? Is this a roster situation, or is this a situation where players just not playing up to the level expected as of right now?
I think I've always said this: in order to win a championship, you got to have a good bench. And Davis is hurt right now, and LeBron, and they keep talking about LeBron's age. When I was coming up playing basketball in the park, I played against a lot of the fathers of the players that I knew well. I don't think age has anything to do with this. You know how to play, but I think the Lakers bench is a problem.
Okay.
Because I look at Golden State, I look at Phoenix, and those guys come off the bench, man. They come in the game, they're ready to go. But sometimes, the Lakers are just not there. Yeah. And I think everyone has an opinion, but they're gonna figure it out. It's a long season. They got to get Anthony Davis back, of course, and I think they got to get in the locker room, sit down, and have a talk without the coach being there.
I know a lot of players. I want to ask you about that, Mr. Robert. I know a lot of players don't like to do those player-only meetings. They feel like some players feel like some star players, I should say, feel like it does nothing. It's just good for a headline in newspaper to show how serious things are. But talking it out in a meeting, they already know. Players have told me they already know what the problems are. So they don't feel like that would accomplish anything. It seems like you have a different of opinion on that.
Well, I do, because I think sometimes we don't know what's going on, but inside they do. And until you can look a guy in the eye and say, listen, so and so and so and so, this happened, that happened, and we're not doing this right. We're not playing you're not playing defense on your man right. Your man is getting around you too much, or you're not rebounding, you're not boxing out. So these things can be said in the locker room when the coach is away, because I think a lot of times it's really needed, And the problem is a lot of the young guys are afraid to say things to the stars. But I wouldn't be. If the guy not playing, if the guy's throwing the ball away too much, he's not boxing out, he's not making the right pass. Boom. But this is all about the fundamental end of it. It's not about the shooting part of it. It's about the other thing that really television doesn't even say anything about. They don't say anything about this guy doesn't box out, this guy he's not making the right pass, or they're not filling the lane on a fast break, or he's not getting back to help out on defense. All those types of things. That's what they need to talk about.
And in order for I was talking to my brother who covers the Warriors. We both played. I played college ball. He played high school ball, basketball. But we were talking about, like, a lot of writers probably haven't played the game. And so those things that you're mentioning, pushing the ball up, making sure you get the ball up ahead to get guys in transition, a guy's not a good boxing out. Like, you don't see those things written about. Those are like the nuances of the game. And sometimes if you can explain to an audience why this player is struggling, why this team is struggling, by explaining some of the nuances of the game, I think that can enlighten the fan base. And I don't know that we have a lot out there. There are definitely some good basketball minds out there who know the game, play the game, but I think that probably lacks in our profession. I think you're definitely right with that.
You're right. I think when I came into the league, I had to learn one thing, as opposed to college. When you be able to take the shot, because with the pros, it got bigger, more people around, more knowledgeable about basketball, you couldn't get in there and get those easy shots like you did in college. Mm-hmm. And I think this is true. This is true today, And so anyone can I guess learn the game, and including writers and whatnot. But sometimes they don't want to They don't want to say that, hey, they're not boxing out, or the big man's not back helping out on defense, or when you lose the ball, you don't. I'll say this, and I was guilty of it a lot. You don't complain to the referee. You don't complain to the referee or not when everyone else is going down the floor.
Yeah.
You get back. And I always said this, complain when you're on offense.
Yeah, on offense. So you admit you was guilty of it too, Mr. Rob. So you started that trend, huh?
Of course, I didn't start it, but I was in on it.
Yeah, LeBron's guilty of that from time to time as well. Meanwhile, his team has at a disadvantage on defense. Mr. Rob, I want to ask you about the triple-double, how hard that was, and Russ doing it. Take me through. I've never been so impactful on the court on any level where I can fill the stat sheet up everywhere. And I might ask you two questions. First question, I'll let you respond. To be a player like that, are there like, do you have to tell the bigs, I don't, if I'm in the area or something like, or you just go get it? Because why I'm asking you this, because, some of the parts on Russell Westbrook, when he was getting it, they were saying, well, he's chasing numbers. He's chasing stats. And we didn't hear that with you. So can you walk me through how you were able to fill the stat sheet up? What was your mentality going into those games?
And at forward, at Cincinnati, I played forward. At Cincinnati, I played forward. Which meant, at a 6'5", I played against a lot of big people. I had to box them off. That's all. Our coach before every practice had a box out drill, which is wonderful. And I think that when I played for Cincinnati and got the triple doubles, I didn't realize I was doing it. I thought everybody was playing the same. I mean, when the ball went up, if I was able to get it, I went after it.
Gotcha.
I didn't lay back. So this is what you have to do. And your teammates. But I guess if I was with Bill Russell, I wouldn't have got a triple double. But yeah. I was with a team. They rebounded pretty good, but I was there as well. And if I'm one of the better rebounders, I should go in and contribute on the boards, because we had a team, but we wouldn't have a great team. So everyone had to rebound and do their part in order to win the game. But Russell, I thought what Russell Westbrook did was tremendous when he broke my record, But it seemed that, I hate to say this, but it seemed like after he did it, but he didn't. The people, they didn't want. They talked about him as if he was doing something bad. Mm-hmm. I thought it was great for him to do that. Man, you do that. You're really playing great basketball.
Yeah, look, he did it. I think the knock on him, I gave him MVP that year. I voted that year he did it. I initially had James Harden as my MVP. I was sold, I was giving it to him. But then the last 2 weeks of that season, Russ got those triple doubles. He had a couple game winners, and I switched my vote. I voted for Russ. But then after that, the narrative started becoming, hey, well, Russ is chasing rebounds or he's chasing assists. And, it was this negative connotation. And, Mr. Robertson, I'm going to ask you if this is fair or not. Now people are starting to dilute the triple-double. We're saying, well, it doesn't mean as much anymore. It's not as impactful to the game anymore. What's your thoughts?
I think you're right to a certain extent. I think what's happening now is because Curry has got that three-point shooting record, that people have gravitated to that now. But still, they'll say this guy, he's got his 10th triple-double, or he's got his triple-double, or he's got his triple-double. It means a lot. It means a lot when you can get points, assists, and rebounds on your team to help your team win. Because then I saw a game the other night where one team had 5 assists for the whole game. But you ain't gonna win. Yeah. You're not gonna win doing that. You got to get up. You got to get people in the game. People got to come in the game, have to make a contribution. And then sometimes they don't do that. But I'm sure the writers are the key, because It's like when the year Wilt Chamberlain averaged 50 points a game. I don't think they even gave him the MVP that year. I think they gave it to Bill Russell. But but these are things that happen. Because I think sports writers and fans and people get to a point where it's commonplace. When I was getting triple doubles, it became commonplace. And Russell did it for 2 seasons. It became commonplace. And we didn't win a championship. Neither did Russell.
Got
so
you.
maybe that hurt quite a bit.
Got you. I got you. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Rob, who was the toughest? Who was your toughest matchup? When I mean matchup, defender. Who was the toughest defender? Who gave you problems?
Well, there were a lot of them, to be honest. KC Jones was tough because they would try to run you into Russell and they doubled you up a lot. I played against St. Louis, had a kid named Dick Snyder. He was a very good defensive player. And Norm Van Leer was a good player at Chicago. And Jerry Sloan. And the Knicks had Walt and actually, Dick Barnett was not a bad defensive player. Played in New York. But it just all around. And I put you to do as a guard. You had to figure out what they were trying to do to you, And after maybe 2 or 3 times up and down the court, you knew what they were trying to do with their hands and where they would look, what they chasing. But I got a lot of double teams throughout my career, a lot of them.
Yeah.
And so they want to get that ball out of my hands, which was fine because I like to pass the ball to our players and get our offense started. But it was great for me.
But what about? Okay, I hear that, and I'm real close with Damian Lillard, and a lot of times teams implement that defensive tactic on him. Get that ball out of his hands early, rely on the other teams. Now the problem is, what happens, because you regard bringing that ball up, what happens when that tactic is working, where they're getting the ball out of your hands, your teammates aren't coming through? What do you do? How do you counter that?
This is a big problem. You got, and I think sometimes when you're being double teamed, you got to be a decoy. A lot of times in situations like that, you can't say, "Hey, I want to shoot it now. I want to shoot it this play." You got to mix your game up. This is why I went in some, I shot outside some. I would never bring the ball down the same side of the court all the time. Sometimes I throw up above the other players and come down and get it, and that's mixing your game up. I was very conscious of that all the time that I was playing. But Damian Lillard's got to understand, he's a target. But he's a target because his big people, the forwards, they relied on him too much.
Yeah.
They want him to do all this thing, but they don't have the defensive powers in order to shut people down. They got to get in the game. I think the game today is that you need people in the game thoroughly. You don't need 1 or 2 guys doing all the scoring. The other people got to be involved. So it's got to be a total team effort.
Yeah, I agree with you. And back to that defensive question, real quick before I get you out of here. Was there a physical prototype that might have gave you more issue, where it's like maybe a long wing or maybe a short pesky guard? Was there a nuisance prototype?
Oh yeah, I mean, after my first year, man, I saw so many defenses it was unbelievable. I got used to it.
Okay.
I got used to guys pushing and holding and I don't know if Gus Johnson was a forward. He'd switch boy. He'd hold your trunks. Those types of things. But you got used to it. That's what being a pro is. You got to make the adjustment. You got to go on. And since the referees were not going to call those things, you got to go ahead and play.
Yeah, no, that's how it is. I like the old school ball. This is my last question, Mr. Robertson. I get you out here again. Pleasure having you on the pod. I got to put you on the spot. Who's your favorite right now? I know there's a lot. Who's your favorite team to win it all right now? A lot can change. COVID protocols, everything is in flux. But just from a basketball standpoint, who's your favorite?
I'm going to say this, and a lot of people may not believe me. Until Milwaukee gets beat, they're still the favorite.
I knew you were going to go there.
When they get their players back, they're going to be tough to beat. I don't think right now there may be. I don't know who can play Giannis when he plays like he did in the finals down low. I don't know who can guard him.
That's not a biased answer, is it, Mr. Robertson?
No, I'm being honest.
Okay. All right. I hear you. Okay.
I mean, here a guy has so much talent, and man, you know, when he gets, he plays outside. When he goes down low inside, I don't know who can guard him.
Okay. Well, I'll leave it with there. We had the Big O, Hall of Famer, legendary, one of the greats, Oscar Robertson, here on the Post Up with Chris Haynes podcast here on Yahoo Sports. Big O, I definitely appreciate you. This is an honor, man. It was a treat for me, just as a fan. You know, just
great show, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you. My dad's favorite player, so I appreciate that. He's gonna get a kick out of this episode.
I thank your dad. Thank you, man.
I definitely will. I'm gonna show him this clip. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rob. You take care.
Yeah.